The George Burns and Gracie Allen Show. Presented by Carnation Evaporated Milk. The milk from contented cows.
Oh, hello. Well, every day, the mail brings in more and more letters from contented parents who have found the right answer to baby feeding in Carnation Evaporated Milk. This particular letter is from Mrs. Eugene T. Petronas of Tallahassee, Florida. Mrs. Petronas writes,
I'm a registered nurse, as well as a housewife. During my nursing career, I've naturally had experience in baby care. At one time, I thought that all brands of evaporated milk were the same. But you could never get me to believe that now. My own daughter was put on Carnation milk as an infant. You should see her today. She's 1 year old, and everyone says she's the picture of perfect health. I recommend Carnation milk to all my friends. I think it's the only food for babies.
Carnation, safe, nourishing, easy to digest, is the milk every doctor knows.
40 pounds. Yeah, that ought to be right for each hand.
Yeah, well, the rope will be heavy enough for me to pull. Say, Ronnie, this movie test you're making Friday, the way you're working out, you must be anxious to get the part.
Oh, I am. It's the part of a French Foreign Legionnaire. Full of action, riding, fighting hand-to-hand, scaling walls. I want to get myself into condition.
Yeah, there's nothing like getting in shape. That ought to do it. That's why you've been locked in your room the last few days, learning your script, huh?
Oh, yeah, I've been working awfully hard.
It's a good thing Yvette went back to Europe. You can concentrate on your work now.
Well, in a way, I'm glad she had to leave.
You kidding? That beautiful girl? You two are closer than Martin Lewis. Didn't get as many laughs, but you had more fun.
I do kind of miss her. But if she were here, I couldn't concentrate on my script.
Look, Ronnie, I'm going over to the Friars Club to get some lunch. Want to come along? They got great pie.
No desserts for me till after the test. They're sending my Legion uniform over, and I want to be able to get into it.
Okay, see you later, fatty. Hey, parallel bars. Haven't worked on these for years. Naturally, I'm using a double. I wanted a flashy ending for this scene.
Gracie, stop worrying about Ronnie.
Oh, the poor boy's heartbroken. Ever since Yvette left for Paris, he's locked himself in his room. You know, he's liable to become a hermit and live in a cave.
Well, I can't picture Ronnie living in a cave full of bats, unshaven with long whiskers.
Yeah, you're thinking of cats. Bats don't have whiskers.
No, I meant Ronnie.
Well, he'd think of cats, too. He knows bats don't have whiskers.
Honey, let's start all over.
Well, all right. All I meant was Ronnie is trying to hide a broken heart.
Yeah, and all I meant was that Ronnie might grow a beard.
Well, if he grows one long enough, that ought to hide it.
Yeah. Well, anyway, even if the boy is lovesick, he'll get over it. It's nothing to worry about.
Pardon me, you two cute chicks waiting for someone?
Oh, Ronnie, shame on you trying to build up our hopes like that.
Oh, you see, Blanche, trying to be gay to hide his broken heart.
How's that?
Keep pretending, Ronnie. It's better than growing a long beard.
Won't you have some lunch with us?
Oh, I'd love to, but I can't stay.
Oh, come on, Ronnie. Eat something. Have some chocolate cake. You always love it.
A few days ago, I would have eaten the whole cake, but not now. Well, I'm going upstairs. I'll be in my room for the rest of the day.
But, Ronnie, it's such a beautiful morning. Why don't you take a walk through Central Park or go for a ride?
Mother, please, don't make it any tougher on me. Goodbye, Mrs. Morton.
Goodbye, Ronnie. Oh, that poor boy. When Yvette left, that really did it to him.
You see, I told you he's in love and it's killing him.
I know how to cure a young boy with a broken heart. You fight fire with fire. Now, a beautiful girl has made him miserable and unhappy. So, if we can get him interested in another beautiful girl, he'll forget Yvette.
Oh, I don't know. If he had a stomachache from eating green apples, I certainly wouldn't give him more green apples.
Honey, I can't explain it now, but there's a big difference between green apples and a beautiful girl. You feel better.
No.
Why are you laughing?
So I won't have to laugh later when you explain it.
Well, anyway, I'm sure a beautiful girl is the answer.
Yeah?
Yeah, but we can't be obvious because if Ronnie knows what we're doing, it won't work.
Oh. Well, it's simple. I'll hire a pretty girl as George's secretary, and then she's bound to meet Ronnie.
But how can you explain to George that she's his secretary?
Well, I won't have to. When he makes out her paycheck, he'll probably guess who she is.
Oh, sir. Cab driver brought this script back, said you left it on the seat.
Oh, here you are.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Aren't you a new doorman here at the Semmerits?
Yes, sir. My brother's on his vacation for 2 weeks, and I'm filling in for him.
How do you like the job?
Oh, fine, but, well, it's not nearly as much fun as my brother said it would be.
Thought you'd have fun on the job?
Well, yes, sir. He told me about a lady who lives here who kept him in stitches. Like one rainy day she was going out, and my brother said, shall I call a cab for you? It's pretty wet outside. She said, oh, that's all right, as long as it's not wet inside where I have to sit.
Bet your brother loved that.
Oh, he must have made it up. Could there really be a woman who says things like that?
There wasn't. I couldn't afford that tip I just gave you. I didn't forget the script in the cab. I read the jokes and left it. Putting on his cab driver to bring it back. Now he must have read them too. Yesterday I dropped it down the sewer, and last night Art Connie brought it back. I tear it up, but I'm still too weak from riding that electric bicycle. That bicycle is AC, and I still ride DC. I don't need special exercise. I must lift this cigar to my mouth over 500 times a day. This may not seem like much, but don't forget that I let the ashes touch the floor without bending my knees. I get results, too. For my age, I don't look bad in a bathing suit. I've got Panatella-shaped muscles. I'm not knocking gymnasiums. In fact, if you're flabby and overweight, I think it's a good idea to join a gym class. May not make you look any better, but when you see how bad some of the other people look, you'll feel better. Of course, there are all kinds of pills they claim take off weight without exercise, and it's true. But you're so anxious to see if the pills work that you climb on and off the scales at least 40 or 50 times a day, and that'll do it. Oh, yes, and they've got a new invention, a reducing chair. You sit in it, and you turn the switch on at the bottom, and the chair does the exercise for you. A friend of mine, he weighs 350 pounds. Used a chair like that for 4 months. Every morning, he sat in it for an hour. Never lost an ounce or gained an ounce. Just couldn't bend down far enough to start the switch. Got all kinds of machines. I knew one fellow who wanted to be a policeman here in New York. And to join the force, you've got to be 5'9", and he was 5'8", so he needed that extra inch. Got on a stretching machine, and he said, okay, boys, let it go. If he lived, he'd have been the tallest cop on the police force.
But, Mrs. Burns, you shouldn't have called a model agency if you wanted a secretary for your husband. I'm not qualified for the job.
Oh, yes, you are, Mona. You're very pretty.
Well, I don't know anything about secretarial work. Suppose he wanted me to take a letter.
Well, if he offers you one, take it. He's got a desk full of them.
Mrs. Burns, I'm confused.
Well, that's because this is the first day on the job. Sit down.
But I don't take dictation.
Well, why should you? You're living in a democracy. You don't have to.
But, Mrs. Burns, I don't know anything about shorthand or filing or typing. And my spelling is terrible.
Well, just keep busy and he'll never know it.
Well, what would make him think that I'm a secretary?
You can't miss. Every 5 minutes, take a coffee break.
Miss John, it sounds like fun.
Well, Ronnie certainly is.
Huh?
Hello.
Oh, George, this is Mona Patterson, your new secretary.
My new secretary? It's not much of a line, but I had a good monologue. All right, Miss Patterson, as long as you're my secretary, I want you to write a letter.
Oh, coffee break. Come on, Mona.
No. Get a pad and pencil. You too, huh?
Yes. Mona, you take the odd words and I'll take the even ones.
Dear Gracie, I don't need a secretary. Sincerely, George Burns.
I don't think he wants me here.
Look. In this family, it takes two to make a decision. So, as long as you and I have made it, he hasn't got a chance. Now, I want you to meet somebody. Oh, Ronnie. That's my son. And if he'll eat chocolate cake, Blanche was right about you, and I was wrong about the green apples.
You want me, Mother?
Oh, yes. This is your father's new secretary. Ronnie, I want you to meet Mona Patterson.
How do you do, Miss Patterson?
Well, it's time for another coffee break. Why don't you two take it together? I'll go get the coffee.
Mother, I'm sorry, but I've got a lot of work to do. I better stay in my room. I hope you'll pardon me, Miss Patterson. It was nice meeting you.
Poor boy. Oh, Ronnie! Ronnie, don't you think she's a beautiful girl?
Sure she is.
Well, then why don't you stay?
What for?
What for? Well, you'll never find out if you don't stay.
Mother.
Oh, Ronnie, you're forcing me to tell you the truth. You've got to do it for my sake.
For your sake?
Well, yes. Your father hired her as a secretary, and he doesn't need one. Your father's at that dangerous age.
Oh, Mother, not Dad.
Oh, no? Mona, do you know how to take shorthand and type and file and spell?
No, I don't.
No, I don't have to tell you any more, do I?
Okay, Mother, get the coffee and I'll sit with her.
Don't worry about me. I'll knock before I come in with the coffee.
Is that true what my mother says, that you can't file or spell or take dictation?
Well, I don't have to. This is a democracy.
I can see why my dad likes you. You're a lot like my mother.
Mrs. Morton, what is Gracie up to? Is she giving a party or something?
Oh, Gracie's entertaining Mrs. Foster, the famous author's wife.
Oh? Oh, look at that.
Uh-huh.
Gracie's quite a hand at making goodies like this, and she should be. After all, she has a copy of Carnation's wonderful recipe booklet, Party Sweets. Take a good look, because Gracie and Carnation are offering this useful recipe booklet to you as a gift. These pictures are all in color, and the pages are just full of treats made better, easier, and faster with double-rich, better-blending Carnation evaporated milk. This Carnation-made Party Sweet is cake at its highest and lightest, and topped with a vanilla icing that's extra creamy and deliciously smooth. A perfect example of Carnation's special blending qualities. Oh, here's another Party Sweet recipe in the making. There's no substitute for Carnation's double richness in turning out Carnation's quick chocolate fudge. And doesn't this look inviting? It's called Cranberry Freeze, another Party Sweets recipe that's light and festive. Carnation, the milk that whips, is used here to keep the cost down while ensuring success. You'll find many more such delightful recipes in your Party Sweets recipe booklet. To get a copy, send a card to Gracie Allen, CBS, Hollywood. Put Party Sweets on the back with your name and address. Send no money.
What fun you'll have making Party Sweets with wonderful Carnation milk.
Miss Patterson, I want you to meet Mr. Von Zell, a dear friend of my father's.
How do you do, Mr. Von Zell?
Oh, hello. Don't bother to get up. I'll sit down.
Well, if you two will excuse me, I've got to catch up on some lines. See you later. Bye-bye, Mona.
Bye, Ronnie.
Bye. Who left?
Well, so you're a good friend of Mr. Burns, Mr. Von Zell.
Oh, much more than that. Well, he wouldn't think of doing a show without me. Oh, yes. You might say that I'm really his right arm.
Oh, you have a very busy left arm, too.
Oh, yes, yes.
Coffee ready. I'm coming in. Now, did you children... Children? What are you doing here?
Well, Gracie...
Oh, Harry, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. Don't you know Ronnie loves chocolate cake?
Oh, sure.
Well, don't you ever want him to eat it again?
Of course.
Well, then go.
Go?
Go.
Right back in my face again.
Mr. Boardman. Mr. Burns, nice to see you.
Thank you very much.
Sit down, have some lunch.
Well, I'd like to. They told me I'd find you in here. Mr. Burns, my son Jim told me that Ronnie hasn't appeared in dramatic class the last few days, so I phoned Mrs. Burns and learned the trouble. And I am proud to announce that I have a cure for his emotional upheaval. Why, a thing like that could cause a psychological trauma. My idea...
Just a minute. What's this about what you said Ronnie has got?
Oh, I'm speaking of his love sickness.
Oh, that's trauma?
Yes. Mrs. Burns...
Psychological, huh?
Yes. Mrs. Burns told me that Ronnie has been locked in his room ever since Yvette returned to Paris.
Yeah, well, that just shows you when there's nothing wrong with your boy, the father is always the last one to know.
It's always that way, Mr. Burns.
It certainly is. And, what's the cure?
Oh, an interest that had great results for me when I was a young man. It will make Ronnie forget the opposite sex completely.
What's that?
A butterfly collection.
Just think, when I was a young man, I wasted all my time with girls. Butterfly collection.
It's just what Ronnie needs. Now, start him out with these specimens. Show him this beautifully colored tiger yellowtail and tell him it is the Papilio glaucus.
Papilio glaucus. I was on the bill with him. He was a guitar player. And his wife, Sarah Glaucus. She wore a big Spanish comb in her hair.
Mr. Burns.
Pressed on the nerve.
Mr. Burns.
Glaucus is not as well as she was. Except for years.
Mr. Burns?
Yes?
Papilio glaucus is the name of the species.
Oh, isn't it funny? They both use the same billing.
Now, this is the female, and this is the male. Now, when you...
You're right.
Give them to the boy.
I will. But stop knocking yourself out, Mr. Boardman. You see, the reason Ronnie is locked in his room has nothing to do with Yvette. He's making a picture test Friday, and he's just learning his lines.
That's all it is.
That's all it is.
I should have known.
Let me ask you something. This butterfly collection would really make Ronnie forget girls?
Oh, yes.
Has it made you forget Mrs. Boardman?
Well, unfortunately, no, but it helps.
This is the doorman. There are a couple of boys downstairs, and they want autographs of Burns and Allen.
Oh, well, Mrs. Burns just came in. Why don't you bring the books up here? I'm sure she'll be happy to sign them.
Thank you.
Mona, did you and Ronnie manage to get together?
Oh, no, he only came out of his room once when his uniform was delivered.
What uniform?
His French Foreign Legion uniform. Some man brought it over.
Oh, no. Oh, he's joined the Foreign Legion to forget.
Oh, you must be mistaken, Mrs. Burns. The uniform had 5 medals on it.
Well, that's even worse. It shows how much they expect of him.
I just can't believe that Ronnie's joined the Foreign Legion.
Oh, I cried when Gary Cooper did it. He's not even a relative of mine. So you know how I feel now. Oh, will you tell Ronnie I'd like to see him?
Gracie, I just met Mr. Boardman
Oh,
down...
George, I have some bad news for you, so brace yourself.
I'm all braced.
But at least you'll be glad to know they gave him 5 medals. Ronnie, your son.
My son? Why?
Why? You should have asked me why is your son 19 years ago, not today.
What?
Not the day he's going to war.
What war? There's no war.
Well, they'll start one so we can win the medals they gave him.
Look, let's take this from the beginning, and we'll take it piece by piece, huh?
Well, how do I look?
Oh, I knew you were going, Ronnie, but not so soon.
Mother,
But don't worry. I'm not going to make it hard for you. I won't cry. Oh.
Gracie, Ronnie is making a picture.
Well, it's the least he can do. Ronnie, send me a dozen, and I'll put them all over the house. I'll never forget you. I'll answer it. Ronnie, cheer your father up. He's not as brave as I am. Oh!
Mother thinks that I'm...
She certainly does.
Miss Burns?
Already, General. Oh, I was hoping for more time.
Well, the boys in front of the hotel are waiting.
Oh, well, come in, General. Just one favor. Would you give my son the best camel? The one with the softest humps. He's very delicate.
Well, my brother was right.
Ronnie, the General is here, and your regiment is waiting outside.
Gracie. Gracie.
Oh, George, say goodbye to your son, and kiss him on both cheeks. He's got to get used to it.
Gracie. Gracie. Ronnie did not join the Foreign Legion.
That's right, Mother. I'm making a test for a movie Friday, and this is my costume.
But what is the General doing here?
The General is the doorman.
That's right, Mrs. Burns. I just brought these up to have them autographed.
Oh, I'll be glad to.
So you see, Ronnie was locked in his room because he was studying his lines. He's not heartbroken about Yvette, so you didn't have to hire that secretary. Is everything cleared up now?
Yeah, all except one thing.
What's that?
Why is the General working as a doorman?
That's Gary Cooper. Gracie doesn't have to worry about me being at the dangerous age. I've got a new hobby. Papilioglaucus.
On skiddy streets, can you handle an emergency like this? You can if you drive on B.F. Goodrich Lifesaver tubeless tires. They defy skids. Let's watch a wet road demonstration to compare the safety of B.F. Goodrich Lifesavers. At 30 miles an hour, B.F. Goodrich Lifesavers stop you a car length quicker than regular tires with tubes. And a car length can make a life or death difference at a time like this. Or in a tight spot like this. So get Lifesavers at your B.F. Goodrich retailers. Compare the safety. Compare the cost. Compare. You'll buy Lifesavers. Made by B.F. Goodrich. First in rubber.
A place for everything, and everything in its place. That's the rule for Chip, Alice, Timmy, Danny, and Charlie Dowdy. That's the rule for their mother, too, and a mighty useful one it is.
A place for everything. That sure helps around my kitchen. Everything in its place. That's easy. With my Frigidaire cold pantry.
So true, Mrs. Doughty. In your Frigidaire cold pantry, there's a place for all your foods. Fresh and frozen, canned, bottled, and wrapped, new bought and leftover. They're all right there, and they're all at your fingertips. Let's start with the most ingenious door in any refrigerator. It has special places for bottles, spreadable butter, cheeses, even leftovers, and a big picture window hydrator for fruits and vegetables. It tilts down to show you your supply at a glance. And it also lifts out, so you can take it over to the sink when there's a fresh supply to be washed and put away. But that's just the door. Think of all you can store in here on these big firm shelves that roll all the way up to you, so you can get at the food in back without moving anything in front. And how about your frozen things? Oh, yes, there's a place for them, too, in this big, big food freezer. Even your ice cubes have a special place for storage, right here. And watch how they get there. You just take out a tray, turn it over, and push. You get a shower of ice cubes, all frosty dry and ready to use. See all the wonderful ideas in this Frigidaire cold pantry at your own Frigidaire dealers. It's further proof you get the best when you buy Frigidaire, built and backed by General Motors.
Thank you very much. Gracie, you look very pretty.
Well, thank you.
Like the way you got your hair done today. New, isn't it?
No, I've had it all my life. The way I'm wearing it is new.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you straightened me out. Went to the beauty shop today?
Mm-hmm. Oh, and we women are certainly happy the weather is warm. Now when we go home with our hair wet, we won't catch cold.
Well, haven't they got dryers in those shops?
Oh, yes, they have. But if we sit under those, we can't hear what we're saying about each other.
Were you under the dryer?
No, I enjoyed myself today.
I had fun, huh?
Yes.
Good.
The operator told me that the woman in the next booth had been coming to this girl twice a week for the last 10 years to have her hair done. She said she was still hoping to find a man.
So?
So I said, well, if she wants a man to do her hair, why doesn't she go to a
barber shop?
Yeah.
Gracie, is that beauty shop always so entertaining?
Well, I don't know. I'm not always there. And then a woman getting a manicure told me she found a new complexion cream that made her skin glow and was also great for wrinkles.
Oh, good for her.
So I said, well, that's wonderful. If your wrinkles glow, people can see them in the dark, too.
Well, she won't get compliments like that every day.
Well, how can she? It's the first time I met her.
Well, that's true, yes.
Then there was another woman who was going to have a baby, and she said she couldn't decide whether to go to the hospital or have it at home.
I'm sure you came up with something.
Naturally.
Yes.
I told her that she'd better make up her mind pretty soon, so when the baby arrived, she'd be there.
Gracie, it's amazing how you help people who don't need it.
It's the least I can do.
Yeah, well, that's because you're nice.
And then a big blonde woman, really had a problem.
This blonde woman?
Yes, she said she needed a dye job on her hair, and she needed a massage because when she wore slacks, they were too tight on her, but she didn't have time to get both.
So you suggested?
So I said, well, flip a coin, and if it comes out heads, have your hair dyed.
And if it comes out tails, say goodnight, Gracie.
Good night.
It's carnation time when it's coffee time. It's carnation time when you're cooking too. It's carnation time and baby feeding time. The milk from Contented cows for you. Carnation.
Appearing on tonight's show were Kathleen Case as Mona Patterson, Walter Wolf King as the doorman, and Frank Wilcox as Mr. Borden.
This is Harry Bonzell saying good night for Carnation.
Next. Okay. First some gleam. There. Now do this. Swell. Look, Mom.
Wonderful. Can't start too young to use Gleam. It answers the one problem our whole family faces. That's not always being able to brush after meals, even though it's best. That's why so many families use only Gleam. It's for people who can't brush after every meal. Like me, eating while shopping. Jim lunching at work. The children out having a snack.
Gleam's the toothpaste that meets this problem. One brushing destroys decay and odor-causing bacteria. Mouth bacteria like this build up overnight. Look, one Gleam brushing destroys most bacteria. That's how Gleam with exclusive GL70 gives added resistance to decay and stops mouth odor for most people all day. Depend on Gleam. It's for people who can't brush after every meal.